Welcome everybody. My name is Jillian. I am the academic advisor for the USC Institute for Addiction Science, the Master of Addiction Science program. Thank you so much for joining for our information session for this program. We'll give you a bit of a background of, how long we've been offering this program for. We'll talk a little bit about the USC Institute for Addiction Science, and you'll get to hear about just the program overview, and you'll have an opportunity to get all of your questions answered. I will be the person you'll be interacting with if you are planning to uh, apply the program. So I'll be helping you with admissions, with the academic advising, um, and just pretty much every step along the way. So I'll also be providing my contact information in the chat, but I'll be your go-to person. But who you'll be hearing from today mostly are the program directors, Dr. Terry Church and Dr. Jessica Barrington-Trimmis, who will join us a little bit later. Um, these two were instrumental in forming the program, so they really understand the background, the basis for why we started this really novel program, and we'll be able to provide some great insights. And I'll be sort of more the logistics person to answer those questions. And so as we go along, feel free to uh, post questions in the chat and or in the Q&A portion of the Zoom, and we will answer questions at the end. So we'll probably present just the general information about the program for half of the time, so about 20 or so minutes, and then we'll leave the rest of the hour for answering specific questions. So again, for those of you who are just starting to join us, feel free to post questions in the Q&A or in the chat. And as we go along, I can also provide links in the chat, and we'll be answering your questions, a mix of verbally and just through the Q&A portion. So, all right, we can go ahead and get us started. So I'll hand it over to Dr. Terry Church.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Dr. Terry David Church. I'm in the School of Pharmacy. I also teach predominantly in our undergraduate program and our master's programs for regulatory and quality sciences. And I also co-teach our introductory course for undergraduates in addiction science. So thank you all for joining, and we can get going. Next slide, please. So overall, our ethos, or why we do what we do, is really grounded in this idea of transdisciplinarity, and also in an approach that allows people to be interprofessional. And what that means is pulling in from different professions to really study addiction from multiple vantage points. The courses that we offer are from different disciplines throughout the university, and by having these different courses in pharmacy or social work or public health, it allows us to have a deeper and better understanding of addiction. So you're not just getting one single perspective, you're getting multiple different ways of looking at the problem of addiction. And together, we hope that people will begin to obtain a really broad and deep understanding of what it means to consider addiction. And that's looking at it from a cell to society perspective. Next slide, please. It really is a unique educational model. There were three schools that came together to help define the curriculum and come up with our foundation for what we do and why we do it. And those partners include Keck School of Medicine, the Mann School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, and the Susan Dwork Peck School of Social Work. Each of them approaches it slightly differently. So from the School of Medicine, you might be looking at things like addiction research, treatment, policy, and how those are applied in a clinical but also population-based manner. And with that, you get a broad look at policy as well as current practice. From pharmacy, you would get a look into addiction research, clinical care, a lot of things related to healthcare cost and regulation of addiction and addictive products. And here we bring together things like basic science, economics, and also regulatory science to bear on this concept of addiction. From the School of Social Work, this is where you get research, counseling, and supportive care techniques, all of which really are aimed at combining clinical and integrative research to help individuals, groups, or organizations with addiction. So it gives you a very broad approach to the problem of addiction. And hopefully, with that broad approach, you will help us uncover new and better modalities for treatment, new and better ways of thinking and researching in addiction, and also new and needed policies that will help people who are living in addiction or through addiction. Next slide, please. So our overall learning objectives are really to prepare people who come to our program for the master's program to really perform in whatever career that they're currently in or plan on going into, whether that's social work or public health, pharmacy, medicine, dentistry, occupational therapy, whatever it might be within the healthcare system or fields, and apply what they've learned to their professional careers. And that could be careers that are in research, in development, things that focus on the classics of prevention, treatment, recovery, and research when it relates to addiction. The program really is here to help people build skills in preventive medicine, public health, social work, psychology, pharmacology, toxicology, and policy. And a lot of that is undertaken through the coursework that we offer and also through your opportunity for independent research and or counseling. Next slide, please. So our learning objectives, again, just to keep in mind that it is a broad program, but we want you to walk away with something at the end of the day. And we want you to think back on your time with us and say, what did I really get out of this program? What did I accomplish? And what we hope is that you'll be able to apply the knowledge that you gain with us to a wide range of problems that arise within medicine, pharmacology, neuroscience, and the like in terms of health professions and or academic disciplines as it relates to addiction. We also would like you to be able to compare and contrast either laboratory, social, or clinical research methods to find the best set of research skills that will help you understand addiction, whether that's through translation or through development of treatment programs. We also would like you to be able to construct and implement research designs with a wide range of technologies, including things like surveys on smartphones, which will be very, very helpful in the future as we move forward in looking at ways of collecting patient-related outcomes. We also would expect you to be able to produce and interpret some research results. They don't have to be massive, multi-center or multi-person studies, but we do want you to be able to understand the data that you are using as it fits within the field of addiction science. We'll help you incorporate and also advance the current knowledge that you have about addiction and help you build new pathways and new ideologies related to the science that you already have. And finally, we're here to help you develop professionally as well as ethically as it applies to addiction science. Next slide, please. This is just a look at our Master's in Addiction Science. We do have two tracks in our program. So one is research related and the other is more clinical in its design. But these are the classes that you would be taking. So all of our students take the addiction science courses. If you're taking the research methods, you end up taking a second course. So that makes it really nice. You have a continuity of research method learning, which is good. And then we offer a wide range of classes across other departments within the university. And our students also end up taking their thesis unit. That is your directed research, where you work directly with a faculty member to come up with an idea, a concept, a study, a case study, whatever it might be, looking at it through the lens of addiction science. Next slide, please. So this is our general curriculum map. I don't know if you want to jump in here, Jillian, at all. So this I tend to stay out of because I know what format students need to take the courses in, but I let Jillian handle all of the fun work of helping direct people. So please.
I'm happy to. So, this is a general overview of the curriculum map for students based on different tracks. So what we have here um, are the layouts for both the research track and the counseling track. So students in their first semester, regardless of track, will take ADSC 501, the Foundations and Addiction Science course. If you are in the research track, you would be taking the ADSC 505A Research Methods class, so part one of your research methods courses. If you are in the counseling track, you're likely going to take one of the courses that are required for um, the CAT-C certification, which we'll go into a little bit later. But one option could be the social work course, substance related and behavioral addictive disorders and recovery. So that course is offered pretty much any semester, but it makes sense to take this in your first semester. In your second semester, all students, regardless of track, will also take RxRS 414. That's that buzzed course. Dr. Church teaches this course, and it's very cool. All students love it. And then if you're in the research track, you would take 505B, the second half of your research methods class. If you're in the counseling track, you would take ADSC 506, which is Considerations in Addiction Science for Practitioners. This course really lays out the foundations of counseling skills and really goes into addiction-specific interventions, working with clients in care settings, treatment settings. And so, as we'll talk about a little bit later too, all of these courses are designed for introductory level exposure to these topics. So if you've never had social work experience before, but you're really interested in the counseling track, this program is well suited for you. So there are no prerequisites, nothing that you need to take beforehand to be ready for these courses. Um, and in your second year, students are focusing on their master's thesis. So, in the beginning of the semester, all students, regardless of track, will take their ADSC 594A course, the first half of their thesis. And if you're in the research track, most likely you're going to be taking an elective. If you are in the social work course, or sorry, the counseling track, you would take the social work classes that are practicum class and a ethics, drugs, and society course. So the practicum is very comprehensive. Your ADSC 506 course prepares you for the practicum. If you are taking the practicum in the fall, you would be placed at an in-person treatment center of your choosing. And all of the options that we have are addiction-specific treatment recovery organizations. So we're also very flexible. So if you're already working in a treatment center, we can likely use that experience towards your practicum. You will be working with someone directly for practicum placement, so it's not on you to figure it out and just wing it. We would have either myself or our social work coordinator help you with finding practicum placement. Um, and and then in your second semester, you'll be focusing on completing your thesis. If you have room for an elective or elective units, you would also be taking that as well. One thing we didn't mention is we also have a general track, and the general track has fewer required courses. Basically, your only required classes are ADSC 501 and RxRS 414, which leaves the rest for electives. You would also take a master's thesis class, but you would only take one semester of the master's thesis. So it would be a less comprehensive topic that you would be writing your thesis on. So it requires less time to collect research and so on and so forth.
So those educational tracks, which we have alluded to in the past, include research, clinical, and our general track. So with research, what we're really hoping to do is get you prepared to collect data, build a study of your own, have a research question, and see that data uh, through analyzing it and also writing it up. With clinical, what we're looking at is the development of additional skills for people who want to actually have hands-on experience with patients or with groups. depending on what they end up doing. This is also really good for people who plan on going on for an advanced degree in either social work or psychology or even medicine or pharmacy. But it gives you a chance to work with patients or with groups of patients, depending on what type of setting you get placed into. And it allows you to build those skills necessary to be able to handle addiction through a clinical lens. And the general track, just as Jillian had just said, this is intended for people who want to learn more about addiction science, but who do not really have plans for a career in the field in clinical work, but they definitely have an interest in it. And oftentimes, this might be people interested in working in the pharmaceutical industry, for example, or people who want to work in public health or other community-related engagement roles. Next slide, please. So, research track, this is really for students who are interested in doing data analysis and or collection and or learning more about the writing process involved in coming up with a concept, a hypothesis, working through a methodology, and really presenting your unique question with potential outcomes. This track does require 32 units for graduation, 16 of which are our core units, 12 elective units, and 4 thesis units. And with this one, you get to work very closely with the mentor to help you through the process of research, development, and write-up. But I will say that we work very closely with most of our students. It's not like only the research team or track gets to have access to the faculty. We're very open to meeting with students on any questions or issues that they may have. Next slide, please. The counseling track, this is unique because it brings together uh, two different systems. So it brings together the healthcare system that allows us to really look at different ways that medicine is practiced, including addiction medicine. It looks at the way that physicians practice and oftentimes work through addiction related events within their setting. The social work placements are kind of very exciting, especially if you have any interest in going out and doing counseling or meeting with people. These placements allow you to work in group settings. They allow you to work in individual settings. We've had people who have been placed in prison related facilities where you're either working directly with incarcerated individuals or people who are rehabbing and working on their way out of incarceration. So it's wide open as to the types of individuals that you work with, and social work is very good at helping people find really good placements. This track does have 32 units as part of its requirement, with 22 core units, 6 elective units, and 4 thesis units. Next slide, please. So, Jillian, if you wouldn't mind taking this one.
Yeah, of course. So I will just give a brief overview of the certification that our counseling track students are eligible for. So all of our counseling track students will meet the education and practicum requirements for certified addiction treatment counselor certification, CAT C4 within the state of California. So this certification is offered through an organization called Katie. If you're familiar with the addiction counseling organizations in California, you'll know that CCAP is another one. So Katie and CCAP. You may have heard of the KDAC certification. So this certification is very similar. It's just offered by a different organization. So, with this certification, you can work as an addiction counselor in many different treatment settings. So, you can work in hospital settings, you can work in private practice, you can work in residential treatment centers, outpatient treatment centers. It's very versatile. With these types of certifications, there are different levels. Folks with a master's degree, and with our master's degree specifically, are able to get a CAT C4 certification, which means that your opportunity for you have a higher chance of getting higher paying positions with that level of certification. And the classes that are required that are integrated into the counseling track are the ADSC 501 course, ADSC 506, and RxRS 412, in the two social work classes, one being the practicum. And I shared a little bit about the practicum earlier, but it's a you get to choose a practicum site that fits your needs, fits your interests and population that you want to work with, you get prepared for working with folks impacted by substance use in various different forms um, and get taught various intervention skills for that. And the certification process is pretty streamlined. There's a required amount of hours you need to collect before you can get the certification itself and take the exam. You would have an opportunity to complete all of those hours while you're in the program. Some people finish it after the program because they want to take some more time, but we have had students graduate having completed the full, I think it's 2,500 hours that you need to complete. So it's very flexible, and we really support students who want to either take that route or wait until after graduation to complete their hours.
So one of the big questions we oftentimes get asked is what type of students do we look for, or what type of students do we accept into our program? And honestly, we accept people from a wide range of backgrounds, people from the sciences, from the basic sciences, all the way through to individuals interested in history or humanities. At the heart of it, our courses are designed to get you up to speed with addiction and addiction science. So if you've had very limited access to addiction related coursework, or you have not really had any addiction related classes in your major or in your minor, we're there to help get you up to speed with where you need to be and help progress that information that you will acquire and then keep going. Salary potentials range, so it depends on what you are hoping to accomplish, obviously. But in looking at some of the jobs that are available by looking at things like Glassdoor and a few other similar sites, if we look for people with a master's degree, as you can see, the average salary is quite extensive. It ranges from 60K all the way up to 181K, and that is just in the state of California, um, and a few other states included. It was very difficult to try and do a comprehensive search because there are different keywords that you have to use. So the states that were represented are on this slide. But a lot of our graduates could end up in a career that is either research-based or industry-based, or even a amalgamation of the two, where they're doing research and counseling. It just really depends on the type of job that you are interested in, and we can help you identify some of those going forward as well. Next slide, please. After graduation, people who have earned a master's degree have gone on to do some pretty amazing things. A number of people have gone on to have placements already after doing their counseling requirements with us in a lot of really good places that allows them to use the skills that they have honed with us and feel as though they're making an impact in this grand scheme of addiction. We see people going into policy, evaluation, research, going on to care facilities. We have a few that have gone on to get their MD or JD, so they've gone on for additional training. Some people have become peer educators. Only one that I'm aware of, there might be more. Jillian will have to let me know on that one, but only one that I know of has gone into the pharmaceutical industry. We've had people looking into HR or admin staff positions, and also people interested in the DSW, or the Doctor of Social Work, or Psych. So it really is a good way for you to develop skills for a current career or develop growth pathways for you to go into advanced degrees. Next slide, please. So we do fall under the Institute for Addiction Science, and as an organization, it was launched in 2018 under the leadership of Dr. Adam Leventhal and Dr. John Clapp. Since then, we have expanded our membership out to 80 faculty, probably more than that by now, at least 10 different schools, colleges, and hospitals, representing 17 different departments within USC. So we do cover a wide range of ideas and beliefs related to research, to treatment, and to prevention. Together, we have as an organization, we have developed a really good agenda and strategic plan for addiction science and how it should be approached and how it should be utilized. We've also looked at creating a really good organizational structure that allows us to bring all of these individuals with diverse ideas and research patterns together to really tackle the issue of addiction. And most importantly, it has allowed for science to progress in unique ways. And that uniqueness is related to the transdisciplinarity of this institute. It brings together people from all different educational backgrounds to really focus on things like training and education, community engagement, and ultimately help move the needle on this problem of addiction. Next slide, please. So here's just a look at some of our current students out doing great things, either reviewing one of our lab locations, which is a cannabis dispensary that's set up as a mock cannabis dispensary. We're not really selling cannabis, for those of you interested. We have our students doing amazing posing near some of our external facilities. We've had students who have met and made lifelong friends while just spending 2 years together in our program. It really does create a little family within your cohort as you come in. Our cohort sizes do range. They can be anywhere from 7 all the way up to a question mark number because we haven't had a large one yet. Uh, each one gets progressively larger, so I can't tell you what the cap will be, but I will say that you form a nice little cohort that feels a lot like family. Sometimes, they get together to laugh about their professors, laugh about the homework they have. Other times they get together to cry about it. But together they form a very nice nucleus of students who are very, very respectful of each other and helpful. Next slide, please.
And I'll just add really quickly that we have had a small cohort size these past few years, and I'm not sure if we mentioned, but we launched the master's program about 3 years ago, and so we're building and growing. But one bit of feedback that we've gotten from our students is that they really appreciate the small cohort size because it allows for them to, as Dr. Church is saying, really connect with each other, but also with faculty. So it really does feel like a family in in this program, because not only are you working closely with your cohort, but you get to meet a lot of really fascinating faculty members who are doing on the ground research and who are just experts in their field. So there's just a lot of opportunities to connect.
Excellent. So just a few testimonials from students, just to let you see what it's all about. I won't belabor it by reading it out, but we'll leave it up for a moment so that you can take the opportunity to read through it. Um, and we didn't pay for these. These were free endorsements, just so we're clear on that one. Uh, And that really is the end of our formal presentation. I know that was a lot of information at you very quickly, but luckily we have an amazing staff and an amazing person who will help guide you through the whole process, and that's Jillian. We wouldn't be able to do a lot of the work that we do without her, and I really appreciate all the hard work that she does for our group. Really, honestly, we would not be able to accomplish many of the things that we do without her help. So thank you, Jillian.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, so we'll go into answering some of the questions that you have all placed in the Q&A and in the chat. Thank you so much for doing that. So I'll try to answer as many of these live as I can. If I need to like send a link or type something out, I will do that too. So the first question we'll start with is, what is the typical cohort size for the addiction science program, and how many students do you usually admit each year? So, as we mentioned before, our very first cohort was 8 students, and we've gradually increased that over time. So we had about 11 students in the cohort after that, and then we've had around that same number in our third cohort. So this admitting cohort for fall 2026 will be the fourth cohort, and so we're anticipating a little bit bigger, so maybe around 20 students, somewhere between 15 and 20 is what we're looking at. And we usually admit a, a higher number of students than that, but that's how it's been shaking out. And because we're a fairly new program, one question that I've often got is like, how likely is it to get admitted and so forth. And one thing that I like to tell students is like, smaller programs are a better bet, usually because with a program that is getting hundreds and thousands of applications, there's, smaller chances of getting in. And obviously, this is a rigorous program, and we select our students very carefully, but just saying we don't have to go through hundreds and hundreds of applications. So it's different that way. Um, the next question is, may we opt in to take courses from either the counseling or research track, regardless of which track we decide to pursue? So, yes, that's a great question. So, the tracks are really designed to support students' different career goals. The students in the research track, they are going to most likely be pursuing careers in research or going on to PhD programs, and some are planning on going into MD programs as well. And so the biggest difference between the tracks is the thesis that you write. So if you're in the research track, you can absolutely take the social work classes and the counseling classes, but your thesis will be a research paper. So if you're more interested in getting additional research experience because of whatever programs you are wanting to apply to after this program, or the type of career you'd like to pursue, um, then the research track would be a great option. If you're in the counseling track, your thesis is going to be a case study, most likely, or a literature review. So you can, if you're in the counseling track, take the research classes as electives. So really, the purpose of choosing your track is to help sort of support your career goals and also offer um, uh, some variety in terms of what type of thesis you would like to write. All right, and the next question we have is, may we opt in to take courses? Oh, that's one I just did. Sorry. Most of my experience is in neuroscience, my major as an undergrad, and public health research, rather than specifically in addiction. I'm very interested in addiction as a public health issue, but do you think a background like mine is a good fit for this program? And are there any experiences you especially like to see from applicants? That's a great question. So we are, of course, open to students from all academic backgrounds, and most programs don't have any sort of addiction specific type of education. So we're uh, really anticipating that a lot of our students have not had any sort of addiction specific experience per se. I would say it is a plus, of course, to see that when we're looking at applications, it's good to see that folks have had either volunteer experience or academic experience in addiction related things. And really, that's just for us to see that you're passionate, you're interested, and that this is something you're really dedicated to doing. But it's not required to have had that addiction specific work previously. We really focus on the students' personal statements and really where they come from and their expression of passion for this field. Okay. Next question is, how does the matching process for research faculty mentors work? Do students ever collaborate with faculty? Um, oops, sorry. Okay. Do students ever collaborate with faculty outside their main track if their interests align? So the matching process for research faculty mentors is self-directed. So our students are asked to reach out to faculty members who whose research interests them, And you absolutely are not limited to your track. So, as Dr. Church mentioned before, we have over 80 faculty members that come from all different departments across USC. So we have faculty who are in the School of Pharmacy, School of Social Work, in the psychology department, et cetera, et cetera. And we encourage students to work with any faculty members from any field or department that interests them. So um, we often will send out a list once it's time to start looking for your faculty mentor. I send out a list of faculty members who I know are already available and ready to take on a mentor, but you're also not limited to that list. You can email anyone within our institute for for mentorship. And really, you're just looking for someone whose interests align with yours, not specific discipline, if that makes sense. Okay. In regards to the counseling track, are you interested in students who have decided addiction counseling will be a new career? So, yes, the counseling track is set up for students who want to pursue careers as addiction counselors. The courses that you take, as I mentioned before, will meet the requirements for addiction counseling certification. So that is the intention of the counseling track. However, you can always change things. You're not stuck doing only addiction counseling with this degree and with that track. So we have students who have worked in addiction counseling spaces or addiction treatment recovery spaces before, have some familiarity with it, and are either wanting to add a new layer to their education or who are just wanting to add on to what they already know. And we also have people who are just coming in new to counseling altogether. So it really fits for folks regardless of where you're at in your career journey. Um, and as Dr. Church mentioned before, there are a lots of different career outcomes that you can pursue. So if you're in the counseling track, you don't have to become an addiction counselor. You could end up working in areas, that are more administrative or programmatic, and kind of integrate your knowledge. Okay. And next question. Oops. What is the decision timeline if we are admitted? Oh, whoops. Looks like I skipped some. Apologies. Um, okay, next question is, do you want all of your applicants to already be employed in their chosen field? The answer is no. So we accept students from anywhere in their journey. So some students that we have in our previous cohorts have worked in those in recovery fields or in are sort of mid-career and looking for a change, and some are coming into this program straight out of undergrad. And what kind of research question is the Institute investigating with the mock dispensary lab? Love that question. This is very cool and exciting. So the lab that you saw in that previous picture, maybe you can go back to it so you guys know what we're talking about. It's this in the bottom right corner of this photo here. So that is a simulated retail lab space that a few of our faculty members have worked on cultivating. And we previously called it the bar lab, but it can be used as turned into both a bar and a cannabis dispensary simulated space. And the type of research that is going on there currently, when it's in this cannabis dispensary form, we call it the Cannex. And really, what we're looking at is retail buying patterns and looking at how different contexts, environments affect purchasing behavior and use behavior. So, right now in the Canex, there are bud tenders, so folks who are talking about the products, and the study is looking at what products are being purchased at what frequency and why. So it's very exciting. One, it's transitioned into a bar. There are lots of different possibilities for looking at alcohol consumption behavior. And so our students can work with the faculty who are conducting studies in this space, and there's just a lot of potential. It can also be used and transformed into a convenience store kind of setting to look at nicotine and tobacco product use. It hasn't yet, but it's the potential is there for sure. All right. Um, and where can we find the faculty who are accepting students in their lab? Great question. So it changes frequently. So I will be sending out that information to students um, when you get closer to needing to find a faculty mentor. But you can look at our faculty member list on our website, and I can share the link shortly so that you can just see who is in our faculty. We have a great search engine in that site where you can search for specific types of research. So you could type in cannabis and see who's doing research on cannabis, um, and get a sense of who's in our institute. If someone is pursuing a PDP, how does this change the timeline? Could an undergrad start these classes in the spring? Great question. So, for those of you who are perhaps familiar, so we have at USC something called a progressive degree program. And what that means is that students at USC in their undergraduate program can start their graduate level classes, start taking those classes in their junior or senior year. And it does change the timeline. So students would still complete 32 units. However, usually students are able to graduate a little bit sooner because they're taking courses earlier while they're in their undergrad. So it really varies. For some students, they're able to complete the program in 3 semesters. Um, some have completed it in 4, some have completed it longer because they are um, wanting to complete a lot of their undergraduate courses first. So it's really up to the student. And what we would do for any interested PDP students is we would work on your course plan together and fill in the classes of what you need to take and when, and sort of collaborate on that. All right. Next question for applicants interested in applying, how does the admissions committee look at personal stories with addiction included in the personal statement? Awesome. Terry, would you like to answer that one?
Sure. So obviously your own experience and what you have gone through and what you've seen are very important. And what you're capable of sharing or what you feel like you want to share, we welcome that. We do provide you with a few prompts just to get you thinking in terms of addiction. So you have to respond to the prompts, but personal statement does give you the ability to talk about your personal experience if you want to with addiction or why you're interested in researching addiction. It's very open-ended, but what we're really looking for are a few things. So creativity in our students, how are they able to assemble different ideas in a meaningful way? The strength of your writing, and also just the ability to keep on topic. So I think the one essay is like 300 words, so it's not very long at all. So you have to really think and condense your thoughts into something meaningful. But we do allow people to share their personal experience if they're interested in doing so.
Great, thank you.
Definitely.
Next question is, since an MAS sounds more niche, specifically addiction science, would it be disadvantageous compared to an MPH or an MHA? That's a great question. So there are pros and cons to all those different degree options. Um, I would say that what the Master's of Addiction Science program does is it really makes you an expert in addiction. So it's giving you a perspective on addiction from multiple different lenses, from multiple different fields, and you can apply that information to any sort of field that you pursue. So while you're in the MAS program, if you were more interested in, let's say, a public health career, you would be able to take more public health related courses and kind of create a schedule that or a course plan that would fit your career goals, and it would be and then you would have the advantage of having a more addiction specific lens. Um, with a general MPH program, yes, you would have perhaps opportunity to kind of go into different fields and focus on different topics, but you wouldn't have the addiction specific education or background. So it's a subjective question answer. It depends on your career goals. If you know for a fact you really want to work in addiction and you there's no question in your mind, the MAS is really a great program for that. Um, the MAS will not limit you in terms of career goals. So if you wanted to do research in addiction, the MAS would absolutely prime you for that. Um, and the same for health administration. So if you know, I want to be an administrator in an addiction treatment center, the MAS would be a great program for that. If you are thinking, I might want to be a health administrator in a different setting for, cancer or something else, then the MAS might not be the best fit. So it just depends on what you want to focus on. And let's see what else. Next question is, are online classes offered so I can keep my job? Yeah, so the program is primarily in person. All of your core classes are going to be in person. Um, and students typically take two classes per semester. So a lot of our students are still working full time, some part time, and they have flexible enough schedules that allow them to take classes during the day. The courses are offered typically between the hours of 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So if you have a flexible enough full-time job that will allow you to take uh, a couple of hours off for the week for class. A few of our students have done that. The class schedule is typically, if you're taking two classes, it might look like you take 3 hours of a class on a Monday, 3 hours of a class on a Wednesday, something like that. There are a few courses that are offered virtually and in the evening. That's typically through the School of Social Work. So some of the School of Social Work classes will be um, offered online or in the evening. And some electives as well. All of the core classes are in person only. And the next question is, could you complete the program in 1 year? It implies this on your website. Yes, so the way that you would be able to complete the program in 1 year is if you take the general track. So the research track and the counseling track, the shortest amount of time those tracks could be completed is in 3 semesters. And the reason for that is because of your master's thesis. So the master's thesis for the counseling and research track need to be taken over 2 semesters. So your first semester, you'd be getting your required classes out of the way, and you would need at least 2 semesters to complete your thesis. So the shortest amount of time for those would be a year and a half. The general track can be completed in a year because your thesis is only 1 semester. And so we can talk about that in more detail if you'd want to reach out to me for um, to go over that individually, but that is typically how that is done. Next question is, are scholarships available for this program? So there are scholarships available. They are not specific to this program, but there are lots of different scholarships that are offered through USC, and I will put the links in the chat for those databases where you can search for scholarships. Occasionally, there will be a scholarship offered through the Keck School of Medicine. That's a pretty large scholarship that was offered last year for $20,000, I believe. And we're not sure if this will still be offered for this next year. We're hoping that it will be. Um, but I will absolutely be keeping applicants aware of that once we get more information on that. So I will put the links in the chat. Um, Next is, can I also obtain my substance use disorder certificate here? Yes. So if you're referring to the Certified Addiction Treatment Counselor certification, the CAT C4, yes. So that CAT C4, um, we are partnered with Katie, and we are offering courses that are pre-approved to meet the education requirements for that certification. So throughout the counseling track, you would get that certificate. Unless you're referring to a different certificate program. And because I know that the School of Social Work separately offers different certificates, our Master of Addiction Science program is separate from that. Next question is, what is the decision timeline if we were admitted after applying priority? Yeah, so we have the early deadline to apply is February 1st. If you apply by February 1st, you will typically get a decision by mid-March. So that way the purpose of that deadline is for folks who want an early decision. And if you apply by the final deadline, which is May 1st, you'll typically have a decision by June. So mid-June, mid to late June. Um, that is typically the timeline. And next question, what level of education is required to qualify for these three programs? The minimum is a bachelor's and a bachelor's degree, and it has to be from an accredited institution, but we don't um, limit any sort of bachelor's degree programs. So we accept folks from any bachelor's um, degree. And um, let's see, for these three programs. Okay, I hope I answered that one. Next is, if I'm already a CAT C1, what are past requirements to enroll? Yeah, so if you're already a CAT C1, you're absolutely eligible to pursue this program too. And what it would mean is that you would be elevated to a CAT C4 upon graduation. So some of the courses that you would take in this program would maybe be a repeat. Like for instance, if you have completed the required practicum hours, um, you might not need to complete them again. And so we work with our CAT C1 students to modify the schedule to make sure that you're not doing too much of a repeat um, of courses. But the Foundations in Addiction Science course that all of our students take is a really great course that really integrates a lot of different disciplines. So that's one that will basically be new to any student and will be is a part of the CATC certification. And are there any pre-requirements needed besides undergrad degree before applying? Nope, no prerequisites at all. So there is, it would be helpful, of course, to have some background and maybe like introductory psychology, perhaps introductory pharmacology, but none of these things are required to apply. Is this program recognized in other states once you have received a degree of any sort? Next question, in case I missed it, how much is it for each semester, or how much financial aid would a student qualify for the master's? Great. So the first part of that question, so the Master of Addiction Science program is an accredited program, and so it's recognized by every state. Um, and for those who are getting the Cat C certification, Cat C certification is specific to California. So that you would only be able to practice in California, and you would be meeting just the requirements for addiction counselor certification in this state. For the semester, so the estimated cost of tuition, it's a 32 unit program. Tuition is unit based. And so what we estimate is that for the 2 year program, tuition is about $75,000 total. And financial aid is available for graduate level students and our master's level students. And I will provide the link to financial aid as well. Let's see. Next question. So this is for an addiction certificate and for a master's degree, correct? Yes. So the master's degree, everyone who applies to this program, when they graduate, they receive a master's degree, a master's in addiction science. For those who pursue the counseling track of the master's degree, they're eligible for a certificate. Um, and the certificate is, or certification, and the certification is the addiction counselor certification. Is this something that we can use to be a therapist? Great question. Yes. So addiction counselors essentially do the same type of role as therapists. They are meeting with clients, and they are doing treatment planning, treatment interventions, and the difference is just that they are focusing on addiction specific counseling. Um, this program does not meet requirements for licensed marriage and family therapy or an LCSW. Those are separate programs, and they have separate licensure tracks, and requirements. So, to summarize, the Cat C certification does allow you to do addiction counseling and do therapeutic practice, but it is different from those two licenses.
So, Jillian, we only have a few minutes left. So,
Okay.
just to summarize a couple of the questions, I'm going to combine them and just ask you flat out if you don't mind answering them that way.
Yeah.
So, there were a number of questions that were looking at the ideal GPA for people who are interested in applying. So, what is a good GPA for those who are interested in applying?
Yeah, so a good GPA, we are looking for at least a 3.0 or above. Um, those and that's just kind of across the board, the standard for USC graduate programs. We're looking for 3.0 and above. However, we do still encourage students to apply if you have under a 3.0, because we know a lot of our students who are interested in this work, they may have lived experience, they have, circumstances that they've had to overcome. And so we care most about passion for this field. So we just highly encourage students who have under a 3.0 to just write about their experience in their personal statement, um, and to just talk a bit about what maybe got in the way in their academic career.
Excellent. There were a few questions that pointed to some confusion that people may have had related to the degree type. So, is this a master's degree, and is it also an addiction certification?
Yes, so it is a master's degree, and everyone who graduates will receive a master's in addiction science, and have that master's degree. And then those who go into the counseling track of this program will also be eligible for uh, certification as an addiction counselor.
Awesome. So we did try to answer as many questions as we could this afternoon. I'm sure many of you have a lot and wide variety of questions that we didn't get to. I would urge you to reach out to us. We're happy to answer questions you may have. But I do want to thank everyone for joining us today. And I also want to thank you for your excitement and interest in our program. And hopefully we will see some of your applications coming through.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to stick around for just 30 seconds so that I can post the links in the chat that I mentioned. But feel free to email me as well if you have any questions at all. My email address is posted in the chat here. Um, and the few links that I will post are links to scholarships and scholarship opportunities, and then also a link to our members so you can see who our IAS faculty members are, folks you could potentially work with as mentors. So thank you all for coming.
And thank you for hosting and for putting this together, Jillian. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy
Have a good
Thanksgiving,
weekend.
everyone.
You too.